Welcome to the second episode of Activate Pivot Charge!
You're late.
Wildlings, am I right?
Yeah.
Miss the cue. No discipline.
Up north, they don't get the news.
Or they get it late.
So I'm Jerome from House Baratheon.
All right. I'm Frédéric from House Greyjoy.
And JC from the Starks.
I'm Emile from Freefolk.
So today we're going to change up a bit the process. We're going to go through 3 different moments. What we call Activate, which will be the recent news. Pivot, which is basically just personal findings, what we found with different testing, comments, and Charge. So we'll talk about a list. Maybe something a bit more spicy. So let's start with the first part, Activate. Brotherhood without banners was basically shown a couple of cards, a couple of units. What do you guys think?
I think the first unit, the one that cost 4 points, doesn't look that great so far. It looks like a great support unit, but I feel like it will have the same purpose as Poor Fellows in Lannisters. You will put them on a side objective and just let them be there. They will score points, looking great, doing their thing.
What's really interesting is that you can use Beric Dondarrion as the commander and basically have a list that says, "Don't touch my peasants," because he has Sentinel.
I don't know if it will be that good. I mean, it definitely has some good features. Disrupt is always a welcome sight, but 6+ on defense when it's a melee unit, I feel like it's so easy to kill. Sure, it will be another activation on the board. I mean, with 4 points units, you can easily have a 5-3 comp. I don't know if it will be worth it in the end. I need to see it play out, but for now, I don't know if it's that good.
They should just stick to playing Stark units, right?
I'm just really excited to see like 8 peasants versus 8 poor fellows. Like, what's going to happen?
Revolution. Civil War.
Oh, God.
A couple of other stuff also that became available right now. So maybe going a bit more on the pivot. We just had a game date. Maybe Fred, how did you find Iron Victory Crew?
I really like them, that's for sure. I think that Iron Victory Crew are a well-rounded unit for 6, most definitely. And they are giving Greyjoy some things that they are lacking. I mean, just by taking a look at the defense of the main units, the unskippables, Silence Men, Reapers for 5 are great units. Most plates are not tanky. 5+ defense, 6+ defense for the bowmen. I think that just the idea of a standard, basic 4+ defense for a Greyjoy is a welcome sight. That's for sure. And then we take a look at the attack that is not lacking at all. It's 7 dice at 3+, but as soon as you get to 2 ranks, it drops down to 5. So it's not overwhelmingly good. It has just been released, and I think that it's really good. But here's the question, if it's a good unit or a great unit. The 1 pillage that is given automatically on the Iron Victory Crew, if they have either Victarion or Newt on them, is it as good if you just put another attachment on it that does not give the pillage right away? I mean, you might think it's a slight step back to not have a pillage from the start, but
You can go get it.
Yeah, you'll get it one way or another, sooner or later. You'll
hit
get
plastic.
it. But here's the thing. If you start with 1 pillage right away, it means that to get to your second pillage that gives you another attack die, you won't need to wait for round 3, round 4. I mean, you can get your second pillage on round 2 with only 1 rank that has been cleaned out from an opponent. And I think that's where the threat really is. It's good, but I will need some time to figure out if it's correct.
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Is the versatility from another attachment worth the 1 token that you get?
Right,
Yeah.
because there are great attachments that you could put on that as well, like 7, 5, and 4 on attack dice. You can easily put, let's say, Dagmer that always has highest attack die value.
Battle Scars.
Exactly,
Yeah,
Battle
so
Scars will work
Wow.
fine on that, that's for sure. I think that it could easily work out without the 1 pillage from the start. It will be quite fun to test out.
What do you think, GC? You played against Red face to face with that unit.
It's sure that you think twice when they come at you because you don't really know what to expect at this point. So you're just, I should be careful about them, especially like they're looking at you like, I want that second pillage token and I'm gonna get it from you. It always depends on the matchup and like it brings consistency. You know, I'm used to fighting 4+ defense, like no big deal, and like
Sure.
the
Yeah, you're
offense is
playing
okay. So
You're playing against Baratheon a whole lot here. So
yeah, exactly.
On my side, for Baratheon, Crownland Scout became available, so it's not linked to Season 5, but it got available pretty much at the same time as Season 5. A couple of tests were done with the unit. It's interesting because it catches the blind spot from Baratheon, both on movement with tactical reposition, and also sometimes, you have some big units, but you want to make sure it all translates into wounds. So having like mark target, which ensures always a vulnerable token, is also very good. And, 4+ defense, we were talking about Iron Victory Crew. It's pretty good in general, 7 dice, 4+ for attack. It's a good support unit. It's 6. Depends on which type of list. On 6, I prefer Brienne with Battle Scars with Sentinel, but, you need to play around a bit with that. There's some theory crafting to be done there.
yeah, another thing is it takes up the cavalry slot. What that means is, yeah, sure, Champions of the Stags are a much better unit, like much better, but it's still free up 2 points. So you'll be able to invest into some other units and then get more value out of them. And that's a big thing because, well, Baratheon, they're slow. You will need to...
The units, not the players.
Depending on the players, of course.
You will need to close up some archers sometime because they will be able to shoot at you and you will take, since you're slow, well, you will take an arrow to the knee. So you need
Going back to 2011, right?
So you'll need
Some
to...
people never understand this reference for sure.
You'll need to close up those archers so they stop shooting at you, and then you will be able to just do what Baratheon do best, just grind out the enemy.
In general, with tactical reposition, with the Stannis army, you can have your Lightbringers attack, shift to basically attack another long-range unit, and then tactical reposition, bring it back. So, haha, I can attack you, you cannot attack me. So you can have kind of like this duel of archers, which could be interesting. What about you, GC? Anything new you want to mention that you've tested or you've seen from Season 5?
Not really, honestly. Stark didn't have much of changes, and it was mostly hidden traps that I think was the biggest one. So I'm just not playing the trackers anymore.
Oh no, bigot to it.
Ah,
Traps.
so sad.
What about
Cries
you?
in Freefolk.
Yeah.
What about you, Emile in Freefolk?
Well, I thought that giants were gonna be really good. Turns out they're not as great as I thought. Well, first off, you're weaker to weakened, even though you still have some synergies that can be made with gang up and stuff like that. Also, the panic on charge seems like it's really good, but then you end up against dragons or like anything that auto wounds you, and you will just suffer. So you kind of need to have an answer to that in your second list if you want to play giants. And also, I remember when I saw the nerf to Steer with the Final Strike gun, I immediately thought, Steer is going into the garbage, never gonna see him again, not gonna play him again. But then I keep seeing lists pop up with the new skin changer, which is a great addition to Freefolk, like great addition. I'm thinking I might want to try it again, because it seems really good now. Styr and Varamir just gone up in stocks. Like, it's so good right now, and those are my projects. I'll try them soon.
I've heard about being able to like abuse also is it Varamir with some bears or something that had some change there?
Yeah, well, you can abuse it by basically giving Sundering to all your units, and since Varamir is 3 units in one, you can just go to town on people and they will suffer greatly. Like, usually your wolf and your cat will go in the flank or even rear, and then you stack the bear debuff on top of that and you'll just take wounds away.
On my side for Season 5 also, I need to admit that I was very wrong about Andrew Estermont. I thought that the addition that they did was like pretty much nothing. It's not nothing. Being able to reroll your to the last with your Kingsman, turn 3, 4, 5 is pretty good. Also, turns out that giving assault orders and a free charge at 6 with Baratheon with Kingsman, woo!
Yeah.
A couple of games I've tested today and almost ended up wiping out 2 armies. Pretty crazy. I really enjoy Andrew Estamont with this new change.
On my side, I'd say that there were few changes to Greyjoy, but the one that affected every composition, every army, was that one change on Balon NCU, allowing someone to resurrect a plate either on your side of the table or on the flanks. Honestly, this NCU is just overpowered.
Yes, bunkers.
Yeah. The thing is that they nerfed it so that when you take back a plate and you put it back on the board, you lose your pillage tokens. At first, I thought it would not be that big of a change. As a matter of fact, it's
big.
a bit like it went from overpowered to really great. Let's say you resurrect a plate of Science Man. You lose the
Let's say, just for example.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Take an example that never happened to me. In any instance, I would do that ever, but let's say, just for science, right?
And let's say it was on the scenario of Winds of Winter, and let's say you did choose the mission where, can I have a unit in your deployment zone and score 2 points?
Indeed. Let's say that it's a possibility.
That's evil.
Yeah, it is. And that's why it's a great NCU. But the fact that you lose the second Sundering, so the other -1 to defense, losing the extra attack die, losing the extra moral as well, makes things a bit more fair, I guess.
But does it mean that now it's canon that you lose your memory in the afterlife?
I don't know.
The implications.
This is so deep, guys.
I don't think you lose your memory more than you lose your spoils.
You need to pay the drowned god.
That could be actually a good idea. Like the pillage is lost but left on the map, and you need to go back to
Acquire
where
it.
you died to pick
back
it up.
your
Just throwing it out there. So let's say if it picks up steam. And
Greyjoy Cavalry Scrap Takers now is going to be developed.
Could you get like a Kraken or something?
I would like that, but I don't.
10-point Kraken.
I mean, why not?
And there's a terrain that's like water, and you need to put it like somewhere on the
Oh
map.
God.
So you put water on the map, but the Kraken can only stay in the water, so it cannot go away, but it's really strong.
Sounds like a nightmare.
And I like this kind of nightmares.
But just think about how cool the mini would look.
Oh, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
most definitely.
You kind of tackled the subject a bit, but I was wondering, we used to see lists of him as a commander, even when he was completely bunkers.
Right.
And now he's still pretty good. Do you think we will see more lists of him as a commander? Are you gonna try that at all?
Yeah, well, I tested it out for one game or two. I was not convinced. The cards of Balon are great, but the effect of Balon in
Just
CU
too
is so good that like it's tough to replace.
Because I've seen Liz doing well with this guy as a commander, and also your NCUs are really strong in Greyjoy, I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the most definitely.
Yeah, sure. He's great. He's 5 points. If you want to have 1 point on the field and you kind of want him as a commander, I can see it not being that much of a loss just because your other NCUs are so strong.
Sure. The versatility of Windermere with the possible
Yeah.
shift or the healing and getting a card as well. The fact that you can heal a lot of wounds with Aaron. So there are a lot of great NCUs that can take the place of Balon. I think that a lot of Greyjoy players will do just as I did. Maybe they'll try it out.
So with the same guys, we've had a game day today, so we've tested some new stuff. I think it could be interesting just talking about what was the result, what was the field. Of course, metagames are pretty small. We were 10. So I was quite surprised to see 3 Lannisters.
I was happily surprised because I never played against Lannisters before. It was my first experience, and I was able to have 2 games against them. So it was.
How did it went?
So I lost one game. I won another one, but I enjoyed playing with them. And the fact that Lannisters are playing so much on moral tests, it's something that was quite feared because moral is not something that is of a high standard in Greyjoy, but overall, if you are able to make them dice roll in your favor, you're able to do amazing things, especially with Silence Men that can heal up every time they succeed at a moral test.
But I think what we really want to know is, did you manage to paint the Lannisters red?
Yes. I am a machine of violence, and the machine was on today.
Talking about doing some incredible stuff with dice, congratulations to GC having won the game day.
Woohoo!
Can you tell us what you were able to do as an atrocity with your list?
Tilt a few players, had a lot of
Yes.
fun. Did try to spicy list today. Worked out very well, 3-0.
Yeah, speaking of destruction, 63 points of unit destroyed. today.
Yeah, that's
Over 3
impressive.
games, that's amazing.
Turns out that great axe are very, very dangerous. That was very, very scary, especially for players that had brought up heavy armor. They didn't like it.
That's good.
Baratheon, what was your final score? Were you 2-1, 3-0?
Yep, 2-1. So really interesting game against Targaryen, which finished on the panic roll. So that was really interesting.
No, that's a type
And always interesting to test the mirror match also. Once you test against other houses, you tend to get so concentrated on your list, trying to do the optimal stuff. And when you play against somebody that doesn't have the same list as you, you're like, what are you doing? What's going on over here? So really interesting to test those stuff. And you tend to learn a bit more on your faction too. So I don't know if you've lived the same thing. We're quite a small group over here in Quebec, so we tend to have all our own factions. But have you tested against the mirror match?
No, I never played against Greyjoy, but that's one great thing about the game is that even though two players have the same faction, there are so many different lists available, different play styles that are possible as well. Add so much depth to the game. I can't wait to have a mirror match against another Greyjoy player. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm just imagining like plastic all over the place, like,
Oh
get
yeah,
this
most
out of
definitely.
here.
Speaking of which, is there even enough space for a match of two Freefolk players?
I think there is, however, not so much Free Folk player around. So sadly, I haven't played against Free Folk. I would like to play against some Free Folk and see what they come up with, so I can see maybe the game in a different way and maybe try some new tactics. Because, you know, after playing for so long, sometimes you tunnel vision into a way of playing. Well, it's the one you like the most and it's the easiest for you. But then again, sometimes you need to see someone else play to get ideas.
I'm just imagining like a Pacific Rim, kind of scene with two giants trying to like punch each other in the face.
Work it out in their own way, I guess.
This brings us to the third section, Charge. So
Hey.
in Charge, we always talk about more spicy lists, so things we thought about, some things we maybe tested, things that are a bit weird. So we started with the idea of going with Counter-Strike Disrupt, but turns out that JC said, you know what? I can bring that to the next level. Tell us what you've got.
This is what I love, taking things to the next level. I rambled on about, you know what, it's so nice to have lists that have personality or stuff that is a bit spicy, that your opponent is going to say, oh, that's nice, that's different, that's really annoying.
Yeah, that's
This
not
is
so
the
nice.
moment you're like, I've done something, and that's great. I see it in your face that you hate me. So basically, the list was Commander Brendan Tully, the Blackfish. It was a very defensive list with the idea of making the opponent pay the price for attacking you. It's not a new concept. I just thought I could use it to be very good on scenarios like Here We Stand or 3 objectives. Very, very grindy games. So the list basically goes on Brendan Tully Commander on Tully Sworn Shields. Sworn Shields, very defensive unit. They have a shield wall, a block on saves of 3. Brendan Tully gives them stand your ground, so you basically cannot charge them. You won't get your bonus. So it's just a wall. Brendan Tully also gives them +2 morale, and we know that the Sworn Shields have stubborn tenacity, so gives them a bit more wound and sustain. But where it goes
Off the rails.
yeah, off the
Completely
rails.
bananas.
And it's the fact that when you look at neutral units and you're like, I think my faction can break this unit, it's the Bloody Mummer Skirmishers with Counter-Strike Disrupt. Again, nothing new. Other factions have this, but what other factions don't have typically, it's attachments like Serial Forel, which gives precision and agile. Agile is basically enemies suffer -1 to hit when attacking this unit. This, by the way, also works with ranged attacks, which is pretty rare. And you have access to NCU Howl and Reed, which have an influence that you can influence an enemy unit, and then when they perform a melee attack, before resolving that action, you may remove the influence to give them -1 to it. So you happen in the situation where someone, most of the time, will try to attack you, and then because you're playing, for instance, Shay also as an NCU. Bloody Mummers have, when they attack first, they give weakened. So people are like, I'm hitting you with 7 or 8 dice, 3+. No, sir.
You're hitting 7 dice, 6+, sir, and you're hitting yourself.
Yeah,
Basically,
that's
yes.
right. On your turn.
It was amazing. It was really amazing.
For you?
Yeah, for me. The rest of the list, so you have basically those two walls that are almost unbreakable. I've spoken about the two NCUs, Alan Reed, Shay, and why not extra defense once again with Eddard Stark, Ward of the North, the NCU at 6, which allows you to reroll panic tests, also allows you to heal if ever somehow you've managed to miss some panic tests and took some wounds for whatever reason. And then you have a quirky mechanic that I really love. So basically with those two walls, you play whatever unit at 5. I chose the Stark Spearmen because they fit into the theme of having stand your ground once again like wall. And you have a plate of Stark Bowmen with Overwatch as an attachment. So Cragman Warden. You're zoning the opponent like there is no tomorrow. And when they finally manage to catch up with Brendan Tully, you have a card which is called Refuse to Yield. When one of your friendly unit passes a panic test, which of course will happen, especially with the Tully Sworn Shield, they already have good morale. With the commander, they are at morale 4. You can reroll if you want with Eddard Stark. So Refuse to Yield makes it that all enemies engaged with your unit become vulnerable. You attach it until you fail a panic test, which will never happen. You will never fail a panic test. While attached, each time you pass a panic test, you put vulnerable again. And if it wasn't enough, if it's attached to a house 30 unit, which it is, you gain +1 to your panic test roll, basically forever. So your moral is now 3. So remember the plate of Bowmen, that is basically the only real offensive unit beside the skirmishers that have a very good damage output. Basically, you just fire arrows at your own Sworn Shield that are engaged with someone. You make damage. Then you expand the vulnerable token on the other side. Your Sworn Shield pass a panic test. You put again vulnerable, and they hit a wound from Stubborn Tenacity. You just go over and over. Oh, and if they want to retreat and move and try to bypass your walls, you have Overwatch. So it's basically never ending. So I found a lot of success with this. It was very frustrating for my opponents.
True.
But damn, it felt good.
But yeah, your end game overall is just to make sure that your bowmen are protected. If for whatever reason your opponent reaches your bowman, how do you think it would play out? Did it happen today that you lost your bowman?
Oh no, they didn't take a single hit.
Yeah,
especially when you place the big palisade. Yes, it blocks line of sight sometime. The Stark Bowmen ignore line of sight. Once again, big bonus. So you just cannot find a way to reach out to them. Sometimes I'm guessing with cavalry, but once you know
Targaryen with dragons, I guess?
Outflank and cavalry, outflanking cavalry maybe.
Yeah, outflanking, but when are you going to see this?
So for any Stark player that's listening, let us know what you think about that list and if you've tried it and if it's been as miserable as it has been for Fred. Good. So we're interested in getting your list also. If you want to have one featured, you can reach out to us so we can go over the
analyze things up a bit, give our opinions. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure. It could be fun.
And we're not looking for the best list. We're looking for something spicy.
Oh yeah, we love spice.
We want something that your opponent will be like, why are you using Brian attachment to neutral? What are you doing with that? We want something special.
Oh yeah, we like special.
If somebody can break Jack in, I'd be interested. So thanks for listening to our second episode of Activate, Pivot, Charge!